Hey, Ghost Machine fans, this one's for you.
Welcome to the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast, episode 79. It's time to return to a world where the delicate peace between those above and below becomes more and more tenuous by the issue. However, we're not just going to be deep diving in our usual fashion. As you may recall, a few months back, we had our first retailer spotlight issue with Kelly from Buy Me Toys and Comics on the show. We had a lot of fun and wanted to continue that tradition. So this time, we have yet another esteemed retailer guest co-host that I am pleased to introduce. Our guest hails from the West Coast with 2 locations in California. He's also a writer and a professional marketing specialist. We've seen him on social media with the likes of Patton Oswalt, Jeff Johns, and Franklin Jonas. He's the owner of Arsenal Comics and Games. It's Timmy Heague. Timmy, how are you? Thanks so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate that introduction, man. I'm about to have an ego after listening to all that. You're too kind. Thanks, man.
That's exactly what we go for with our intros for all of our guests. So that's perfect. So tell us about you. What's your comic book origin story, and what's the origin story for Arsenal Comics and Games? And is it named after Arsenal from DC?
Yes. It very much is a Green Arrow reference. I originally was going to do Arrow Comics and Games, but I just thought it was a little on the nose. And then Arsenal just sounded cooler. And people were always like, well, why isn't your color scheme red then? I'm like, well, green's my favorite color, and I like Green Arrow the most. So it's my store, deal with it. But no, the origin story, I have just had a life of comic books. I had trouble being interested in reading when I was like 6, 7. And my parents noticed that I was just so into everything comic book media in terms of animated series like Saturday morning cartoons. After the Star Wars re-releases of the 90s, I was just all in on everything nerdy. And they took me to the local comic shop as a kid and see if that would stick. And it was just obsession at just, first sight. Like my first 2 comics were Web of Spider-Man #1, the issue that has him like getting rid of the black costume, and Spidey's black costume is prominent on the cover. So from the get-go, I was obsessed with the black costume. And then the other comic I picked up that day was Green Lantern 145, Kyle Rayner surfing through space. And that made me a lifelong GL fan. The cover, it was just so striking to me, like, whoa, this is just so badass. And then I opened it, and it had everything a good comic needs. Like, it had epic battles. It told you an origin of the character. It had this awesome supervillain. It had him getting new powers, a new costume, a new name. So right from the get-go, after that issue, I was like, I need to find out what happens next. And it was just, it turned me into a Wednesday warrior by age 8. And I was a lifer. And I would go to the comic shop every Wednesday. I would go every Sunday. Like, I worked out my allowance where I was like, okay, if I did Wednesdays for new comics, I could do Sundays for back issues. And I was weird with it. Like, I was collecting, organizing, reading obsessively. I was all in. And I come from a family of small business owners. My dad deals in collectibles as well, not comic books, but I just always had, like, I guess, that hustle in my DNA. And so, like, I would figure out, like, through Wizard magazine, like, what the hot books would be, and just and like, even like with toys on eBay, I would see what like the hot toys were at the time. And like, I would be buying duplicates to like flip on eBay myself. And I was doing that by like age 10, 11. Like, my eBay account for Arsenal does say that, like, you've been a member since 2003 or whatever like that. It's like, wait, what? But yeah, like, I've been all into it. And I started working at a shop by 15, that same very store. And then I realized I always wanted to be a writer, but I was like, I know retail, I know comic shop retail, And so around 21, 20, I made this vow to myself that like I was going to be a store owner one day. And I did everything I could to accumulate more savings for it. I spent my nights doing business plans instead of being social or reading comics. I hustled. I was buying and selling more on eBay. I was working as much hours as possible as I could. I had a small business loan going. It was a lot, but I opened up my first little store at age 22. I was really prominent with social media with my store. That was a big part of my success. No other store was doing it like that at the time. And yeah, my store arsenal is still like, that's a big factor of our marketing is the social media. And yeah, I kept at it. And around age 26, 27, I'm 33 now. I started just, you know what? I want to go back to writing, see what I can do, and just slowly working away at it internally. And it wasn't until a little post-COVID that I started really taking it seriously, doing writing, where I had like these 2 months of nonstop rain in my county. And in my county, Ventura County, my two stores, Ventura and in Newberry Park, both of them, whenever there's rain, business just slows down. It's just like that countywide. And so I had January and February of like 2022 where not a lot, like business slowed down. Like I was working from my home office a lot. Nobody likes to drive in the rain over there. And it was a very chill 2 months. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend my evenings and mornings writing when I'm not at work, hardcore. And I had a good relationship with Archie Comics. I did a lot of exclusive covers with them. And my whole thing with exclusive covers is you could either pitch an idea and make it happen, or you like get a cover that they like pitch to you. That's how it works in exclusive covers with publishers. And I always wanted to have the creative input. So like I believed in my idea. And I was doing that a lot with a lot of publishers, and Archie was the one I had the most success with, the most constant, like I was doing the most covers with. And one day I was like, hey, can I professionally go about this the right way and pitch you actual stories? Like I want to take it to the next level. And they were like down. And I was like, whoa, okay. Like I was like sick. And so I had like a couple weeks where I was just getting some outlines, some pitches together. And one night I was rereading Afterlife with Archie for the umpteenth time. And I had that Megan movie just come out on streaming. I had that in front of me. Meg 3N or whatever it is. And yeah, I just was like, you know what? Killer Dolls in Riverdale, let's do this. And so I pitched that and like a bunch of other things. It wasn't until a couple months later, I was like, I didn't know at the time how busy and cramped editors' lives are. Like I didn't know, you don't know until you're in the thick of that world. And I gave up on the idea. I was like, it was a cool dream, great work exercise to writing, but just wasn't meant to be. No worries. They didn't dig it. All good. And then like a week after I made peace with myself, I got the email. Hey, the Killer Dolls pitch. That's kind of in line with one that we want to do already. Let's work it out. Okay. And yeah, I was blown away. And so I got the itch from there on, and I can't stop. And I've, done tons with Archie, Dark Horse, Valiant. I've done a piece of Bad Cave. Yeah, I'm very thankful to say that I got more on the way. I'm working on my creator-owned stuff. And then also just, life's, I keep making this joke that life's just so good right now and treating me so well that I'm just holding on to it as much as possible. Like I'm just savoring every moment. Stuff with the shops is good right now. My writing's going good. Helping people out with their marketing. I for the last like 3 years, I've been helping other creators out with their marketing, just because, it's what I do with my own books and my shops. Like it's just a service that, can really help creators. And I want to help my friends. And yeah, it's just comics are treating me real good right now, better than ever.
That's awesome to hear. We did want to ask you about the culture in your store, because I am fortunate to live in Cincinnati, Ohio, where you can throw a rock and hit like 7 to 10 comic book stores. I'm very spoiled. And that doesn't even include like the game stores that sell a couple of comics too. Yeah. And so we all know that there are different types of comic book stores.
For sure.
Types of folks in them, and then sometimes that's DC or Marvel. Sometimes that's like you're allowed in or you're not type of thing.
Yeah, which just my brain with that goes two ways. Like comics are for everyone. And I believe I was put on this earth to put as many comics in people's hands as possible. Like, that's why Free Comic Day is such a big deal to me. That's why I do a lot of like events at schools where I pass out free comics to promote the medium and just, promote an access to literature. I mean, that's how I got, that's why I love comics so much. It helped me become a reader. But also for me too, like from a business standpoint, where I'm at in Southern California with, how expensive rent is, operation costs, payroll, I'm just like, how do you afford to be that clubhouse mentality? It's so silly to me. Like, are you just like sitting on buttloads of cash, or you just don't mind burning your cash? Or, there's just people that like are fine with just having a clubhouse. And that's just never been my thing. I want as many people to come through my doors, be introduced to comics as much as possible. And like, I worked that shop I worked at as a kid. There was things I liked about it, but the thing I liked most about it was probably the memories I made looking back. Like, my best friend of 20 plus years is a guy I worked with there. And now he works at my store. Like, that's something I'm forever thankful of. But like, that store was a lot of the opposite of what I wanted my store to be. Like, my store's clean, organized, bright, really bright, clear signage. And most importantly, like, you gotta talk about what you love. And like, the shop I worked at, me and my guy who works with me now, we were the only people that would like engage with customers, talk about comics. And now I'm like, I don't want anybody on my team at Arsenal Comics and Games who doesn't want to talk about comics all day with people. Like, that's what it's for. Cause like, when I started going to a shop when I was a kid, it was pre-MCU. The only show we had on TV was Smallville at the time. Like, comics weren't what it is now. And my whole thing is like, a comic shop should always be what that was to me. Like, it was the only place to be around people that liked that thing that you were obsessed with, that you loved. That was your culture, your life. And that's to me what I always want Arsenal to be, a place where little Timmy can come into a store and see the things that he loves and other people love it too. And he can talk to them about it. And, no matter who or what you are, I want my stores to always be a place that you can talk about comic books.
It really shows in the social media that you and your team put out, because they're always having so much fun. And like, you have a whole group of different staff members that put out stuff on social media. You must maintain a really healthy culture.
Yeah. I make the joke to a lot of people, but I don't like being a boss. I don't like being an employer. Like, it's being an employer, I think, is the hardest part, is like being the leader, being all of that. And like, I've learned so much now in my 11 years. God, it's crazy to say I've been doing this for 11 years now, but like, I've learned a lot that like, the most important thing is a happy, fun environment where you're just real with each other. And by the end of the day, like, the goal is just to sell and talk and just have fun with comic books. And I've been saying it for a while now, and I'll continue to say it. I don't think I've ever had the best interpretation of Team Arsenal Comics more than ever. I'm so thankful for my staff. Like, they all get the mission. They all see it. Like, I'm just so thankful right now for my team. Like, it's like, I keep saying it's like the ultimate absolute arsenal on dirt. Like, it's so good right now. Very thankful for my team.
You can tell with the way that they are obviously happy to be there in every single thing that goes on the internet that you guys do. So, this is the Ghost Machine Fans podcast, though. It's not
give it to me.
Unfortunately, it's not the Arsenal Comics and Games.
That's why I'm here, man. I want to talk about one of my favorite publishers.
So tell me about your relationship with Ghost Machine. I hear tell that you have a relatively close relationship with Jeff Johns. Obviously, we both know Danny Ward, the exceptional Danny Ward, who doesn't get enough credit or shout outs out there.
She's my bestie. I love Danny, and yeah, I've been very fortunate to know Jeff for the last couple of years, and he's just such a solid guy, and he's been a mentor to me when it comes to just comic book retail, comic book writing, and just as a friend in the industry. And he's just one of the best dudes. I can't say enough good things about Jeff. And when he announced Ghost Machine, I was just so immediately on board, because I knew, of all people in this industry to have a vision, to have a plan, it's Jeff Johns. And it delivers. And even on the projects that he doesn't write, the things that he helps assemble, his Ghost Machine co-owners, those creators, like, they're just putting out just such great work. I mean, to prep myself for this podcast, I just reread issues 1 through 10 of Halo and Hornsby. And it just like every issue, I'm just like, damn, that's a good comic. Damn, that's a good comic. And yeah, it's just they're just putting out solid stuff, and I just can't say enough good things. And when they're all collecting the graphic novel too, like you just really see it. Like, wow, they're making some damn fine sequential art.
It's an incredible time, and it's in the midst of time that's really an independent renaissance for comics right
Yes,
now, right? Like there's so many great indie comics out there.
yes,
How do you steer your customers towards Ghost Machine? I mean, I'm sure you talk to them about what they're interested in and stuff based on what you said, but
absolutely,
you know,
absolutely. Yeah, like it's the best part. Like I can describe like a good comic shop is you got to know your customers and you got to know to hand sell what based off what they talk about, what their interests are, what they're pulling, what they're buying at the register. Like with Ghost Machine, what's really smart is with every series, there's a different genre, there's a different like type of character that you can really gravitate towards. Like with like Hyde Street has been phenomenal. Horror comics has been super popular in my shops the last couple of years more than ever. There's been like a horror comic renaissance, and Hyde Street not just a great horror comic, but like it's got like that like nostalgia is a hell of a drug. Like we have so many customers that aren't even like horror fans, but they're like, well, that is the creative team of Blackest Night. And they're like, okay. And they just dive into it because it's like it's got like Twilight Zone vibes. It's really fun and spooky. But like I think what not enough people talk about with Ghost Machine books is every single title, no matter what the genre, all these books have a lot of heart. Like they really make you feel something. And I would say that every Ghost Machine comic kind of reads like a really good Steven Spielberg movie. Like like every book I read, I'm just like, damn, this is like your favorite Spielberg 80s movie that doesn't end, it never happened. It's great. It's
Emphasis
great.
on the doesn't end and is currently rolling on the screen.
Which is fantastic because like that's the thing that like I tell Jeff all the time. Like he absolutely understands the blueprint. He's doing with Ghost Machine what he did back in the day with DC Comics, where he is telling these stories and keeps telling them to the point where us as readers get payoff. We get twists. We get turns. We get something to look forward to. We feel a reward with it. And that's the thing Ghost Machine looked at with this current industry the last couple of years. And they realized what was missing of something that had worked forever in comics. And for some reason it went away where overnight it seemed like we had tons of ongoing series from every publisher. And then it was like mini series became the format. And don't get me wrong, I understand the benefits of miniseries, but like ongoing is where it's at. You can do so much with your longevity of a story. Like that payoff is just so sweet when you get to issue, 30 something and you see something revealed that was seeded for arcs and arcs beforehand. It's the best. And with every title in Ghost Machine, they're doing that. Like even in Halo and Hornsby, they're doing it. And every other issue, you're teased with what's in the cave, what's in the cave. It's great. I love it.
And it harkens back to an earlier era of comics where you had to have read those 36. And don't get me wrong, Ghost Machine fans. The Ghost Machine's great for new readers. It's really easy to catch up. What I'm about to say isn't bad, but what Timmy means about like if you've read all the Geiger books back, all the way to the Mad Ghost days, you're going to pick up on little nuances. And you can't do that when all the series in the world are like 6 to 10 issue minis.
Exactly.
And I love those. I read those. You sell those, but it's ongoing forever type of storytelling is really what resonates a lot with the Ghost Machine fans too.
It's great. Yeah, every volume 1 is just so new reader friendly. Like even the books that are connected, you don't have to read others. You get your full story. Like you can read Junkyard Joe and have just such a powerful experience without needing to read Geiger. And I think too, one might argue is with Ghost Machine, what's truly incredible is I feel every issue is episodic to the point where you really truly get a whole story in each issue, each chapter, and you get your money's worth. Like I really feel Ghost Machine creators look at how much a comic costs nowadays and they look at just the way of the world. They look at what, $4 or $5, $6 is to somebody, and they make every penny worth it from beginning to end. You get a whole story. You get like an arc. You get a feeling. You get emotion. You get development. It's great stuff.
And in some cases, you often get way more pages than the competitors because they don't put any ads outside of just Ghost Machine occasional ads inside of there.
Yes.
So it's literally more bang for your buck on top of the actual caliber of the storytelling,
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to talk about a Ghost Machine issue and series today, but I want to ask you one more question as a prominent retailer in the community.
Yeah.
And, we live in an age where people hear they read on their phone about distribution, this, that, delay, that, pull list, this, that. If I'm a fan and I'm a loyal customer, I want to support small business, I want to support comic books. What's the best thing for me to do to support a business like Arsenal Comics and Games?
You really just kind of said it. Just be a pull lister. If you love these Ghost Machine titles, let your shop know and let them know that you want every continuous issue. That's just the best way that you have guaranteed orders. You know what to order for your customer. It's, and just most importantly, just make sure you pick it up, because comic shops, they need their cash flow to pay their bills. And if a customer doesn't pick up their pull file in 2-3 months, that's a hiccup in their cash flow that they're depending on. So that's really my biggest champion of things to say of hey, just put things on your pull file, and then most importantly, pick up your pull file.
And if a comic book gets delayed, believe it or not, Timmy didn't do it, and none of the other retailers did do it. So don't make the reason you stop picking up your pull list on time something like that. Remember that they're not the ones printing and distributing the comics. They want them too. They want to read them, obviously.
Yes. That's definitely something you've kind of hit on the nose that I think is very interesting, that I have seen since day one, and I still see it to this day, that when there is a delay in a comic from any publisher, for any reason, or if there is even not just a comic's delayed, but a comic is from the publisher, but it's delayed by distributor, or delayed even just in transit, stuff happens. One thing that I think is always kind of just oh geez, is when the customer is frustrated and they take it out at the person at the counter. It's, and you just said it perfectly. We want to read these books too. We want to sell them to you. So yeah, I'm just a big believer in I'm saying it very censored, but stuff happens, that's life, stuff happens. And also now as a creator and someone, who works on the marketing side of things, I see all angles of this industry. And as a creator and someone now who helps market other people's books, I see the process of creating comics more than ever, from beginning to end, from the second they're, pitched to the moment they arrive in stores. I see the conception of the execution. And I gotta say, there's, in my opinion now, I don't think there's ever such thing as a bad comic book. There's no way a bad comic book exists because of how much time, work, and energy goes into making a single comic book. It is a miracle that any comic gets made, with how many ladders, how many steps are involved. It's just I'm sorry, I don't believe, I see how much labor of love goes into making said comic book. So if someone goes, hey, this is a bad comic, sorry, I don't believe you. Sorry, not a thing. Might not be for you, might be for me, but there's no such thing, in my opinion, as a bad comic book. I can't say it. I just can't.
Well, you should that's a great mic dropper right there.
That's right.
Right there. Boom. All right. Well, thank you, Timmy, for letting me interrogate you.
I love being interrogated. Yes.
But now we're going to talk about Hornsby and Halo. So we are going to talk about a specific issue of the series, because Hornsby and Halo number 10 is the most recent issue of the series that we haven't had a chance to dive into yet. But why don't you tell us what you think of Hornsby and Halo in general, as somebody who just sat down and read all 10 issues in one sitting?
Yeah, literally the last 2 hours. That's what I was doing. I gotta say, what I love about this book is it's almost like they said, hey, let's get the world and the mechanics of something like Preacher, but have it be done through the eyes of two children that have these biblical ties. And then also, let's shoot it like it's a Spielberg film. Like it's awesome. I love it. I love the characters. I love the humor. I love the lore that's set up. I love the visuals. We've had 2 artists on the book now, right? In those 10 issues, it's 2 artists. Both of them I love. Peter, I'm going to slaughter his last name. Could you please help me say it right?
Peter Tomasi said Snaberg, so I go with that.
Thank you. Oh, wow, I just put it together. This book has 2 Peters, huh?
Yeah,
funny.
Yeah.
And then I really liked Ramon Bukes. Is that how you say his last name?
I think Box, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. I like him a lot too. I like that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. You know what's funny too is I see the preacher thing. His work kind of reminds me of Steve Dillon a little. Steve Dillon. Yeah, I see a Steve Dillon vibe. Yeah, it's like every issue gives you a little bit of something new with this world and this story, and I'm all for it every time. Like, I love the children's dynamic. I love their families. And when I say love, I mean I really, really hate the funeral family. Those guys suck. I'm really wondering what's going to happen with those characters. If there's going to be like they get what they deserve, or if they have a excuse the pun here, but they have a come to Jesus moment, like where they see the error of their ways. I cannot wait to see where that turns out. But yeah, like the character designs are awesome. The panel layouts in every issue is top notch. Like issue 9 has a school play scene where they do Paradise Lost, of course, right? Mm-hmm. And there's that 2-page spread that's like, wow, like you get something like 2 children doing a school play, and you work it out visually to where it's one of the most interesting pages in the comic book. I just thought that was so clever how they did that in issue 9. And then in 10, speaking of layouts and the way they like juxtapose things and all that, is there's when they fall from the sky and you just see 2 panels. I think it was like page 1, page 2 or whatever. No, it's page 2 of where they fall. I could be wrong. Either way, it's early in the issue.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, and they fall, and just the way that he uses the layout, Ramon, is just such a great usage of the medium. I love comics. It's my favorite medium of storytelling. And when 2 creators cook, when a creative team cooks, they cook. And yeah, I really feel like every issue of Hornsby and Halo is that in a nutshell. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this book. Like, it's got a lot of heart, it's got humor, great story. It ends like a good comic should every issue, where it leaves you wanting more but still satisfied with what you picked up. I think this book's criminally underrated, truth be told. I don't think enough people are talking about Hornsby and Halo. It is a really fun time.
It is, and I feel like it can be one of those books that, like many of these titles, can really benefit from a read from a first trade paperback standpoint, because it really
for sure
grabs a different type of reader. Mm-hmm. You know, like I like obviously you know what I mean when I say this, but I like having a comic book in my hand and all that kind of stuff. Brother. But I also think that there's a whole world of folks. I mean, there's plenty of people that come into your store and only buy trades, right?
Yes. And what's interesting too with Ghost Machine for me is like, I will sometimes reread it by the trade. And that's such a fun experience. Like I did that. I've done that with Geiger. I've done that with Redcoat. I just reread High Street via trade paperback. And yeah, both experiences are just such a great time.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that there being 2 artists. People don't know, and we usually start with a cover rundown. So this is actually apt, because this artist team is the team on the A cover. Peter Snaberg and John Calise is a colorist. So I'm convinced that
Great
the reason it's awesome colors. I'm convinced that the reason that people don't know Peter Snaberg is purely because his last name's hard to say, because he did JSA literally. With John Calise and Jeff Johns and David Goyer at the time. It was Jeff when they were still writing JSA together, like back in the day. And like, that's, if you go back and look at those, that's really great. Like, that's great.
Yeah. Oh, it is. JSA was probably my first 5 or 4 issues I read religiously. So yeah, I make the joke that like, Jeff Johns comics has been part of my comic book, origin story and DNA since like day one. I don't know what it was about old people superheroes with young, with a new generation and young kids, but it hit little Timmy hard. Like from those, yeah, like I was just so into like, I think I've just always grown up hating Nazis. Like it's just always been something where I'm just like, they're the bad guy. So I always love how JSA was the World War II heroes. I love that aspect to it. And like Jeff's series made me go into back issue bins and read like those early 90s 10-issue miniseries of Justice Society of America. I couldn't get enough of these old guys. I really couldn't. It was weird.
Yeah. Jay Garrick's your boy, huh?
Yeah. I love me some Jay Garrick, even though I'm a Wally guy. I love Wildcat. I loved,
Ted.
I love Ted. I'm a big Starman guy. Huge Starman guy. Like Starman's probably one of my all-time favorite comics. I reread it like every other year. But yeah, so JSA rules, and yeah, Snaberg.
Peter.
By the end of
Peter the artist.
Peter the artist. Yeah, he's been cooking up great comics for a long time.
Yeah, dig it. And even him and Tomasi did Light Brigade, which is joked about in Hornsby and Halo, because at one point the kids like, there's zombies outside, and they're like, no, you just need to stop reading Light Brigade, which is
that's funny. I didn't catch that. Remind me, what was Light Brigade?
Light Brigade was Peter Tomasi and Peter Snaberg, and it's like a story. It has angels and demons, but it's like in a military setting or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Who published it?
I think it was a DC joint, but it was one of those that was like not part of the main
part of DC. Interesting. Yeah. I'm gonna track that down. That's super cool.
Yeah. It's the kind of thing where when we talked to Peter Tomasi about things, he was like, "Yeah, nobody ever brings a copy of Light Brigade around to get signed." But so Snaberg, though, the artist, and John Cleeser, who did the cover here, and it's a cool cover. It's like there's like this Zack and Rose, but they're in demon and angel form, and again, kind of blinded by the light type of deal.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's cool. Are you familiar with the Mr. Scott Collins that was the artist? Looks like the artist.
Oh yeah.
On the cover.
I'm a big Scott Collins guy. He's done so much Marvel and DC work. That's Scott Collins, right?
I believe so.
Collins with a K. Yeah, yes. I think he's a modern comics legend. I think that guy like doesn't get enough credit. I mean, he did a lot of Nightwing. He did a lot of Marvel Team Up, the Kirkman series. Mm-hmm. I've always been a big Scott Collins fan. So it's really cool seeing him on the Ghost Machine covers.
Yeah, and this is the first time we've seen him on the Ghost Machine covers. So that's awesome. The B cover of Hornsby and Halo number 10. And welcome to the party, Scott Collins. So there you go.
Wouldn't be opposed if we got some Collins Ghost Machine interior pages down the road. Wouldn't complain at all.
Drum roll. Look at that. All right. Well, me and Timmy, we're going to talk about Hornsby and Halo number 10 in a bit of detail as usual. So that makes this your official spoiler pause. And we've already talked about the creators on this book, so we can get right ahead and do our deep dive. So, Timmy, you just read all 10 of these. That's absolutely fantastic. I'm high-fiving you through the Zoom for being such a prepared guest. But basically, we start this thing out having to remember about these monster UFO hunter people, right? Isn't that kind of where we have to... Yeah.
They were set up in the previous issue. And you had two opposing reality TV style, YouTube style monster hunters, or alien, hunters as well. Because one I think is more alien oriented, one's monster oriented. Right. And like the alien one is a gal with like alluding to like she's got like a psychic powers thing going on. And the monster hunter dude is just like a total dude bro, loves like he's kind of like a modern day streamer. Like he's such a ham. And yeah, I really love like how their arc plays out, because they use the female character with the psychic powers to help kind of tease what's in this cave, which I'm just so ready to see what's in the cave. I can't wait for that. So they use her for that. And then, really what's fun is like they have like this 2-issue arc really where like they're used in the end to like showcase some of the like powers that the kids have, which I think is really fun. What they can do, and them working together is fun. And also I really enjoy like when a comic kind of does like that Marvel thing of like, they used to call Marvel Comics the world outside your window.
Mhm.
And, I very much appreciate when a comic can do that really well, because with this, with these streamers or, YouTubers, whatever you want to call them, that's very like now, right? Social media rules the world, and I really enjoyed how like at the end of this issue, when the YouTubers, the streamers are following the kids, they're filming them, and it's just so creepy. And I really appreciated that, because that's something that like I think is a theme, kind of just something that this world needs to realize and learn, that not everybody wants to be filmed 24/7. It's a weird thing, especially kids, right? And so like I really appreciate the commentary they did with this issue of just how weird people can be with their camera phones, with their, just kind of not respecting people's boundaries. And so yeah, I really appreciate how they really did a kind of a topical thing there with this story. And I love how these characters kind of, they learned their lesson by the end of, the kids showing them what's up. They want to delete all their video footage. They want to, get the hell out of Dodge. And I love that. It was almost like a wholesome end to a Twilight Zone episode. Like they learned their lesson, but they still get to live, like it was fun.
And they tell the message of what you were saying, though, of being able to go beyond what,
Yes.
the social media piece in parallel. But they
Yes.
also do it by also initially being able to parallel visually.
Mm-hmm.
You use the word juxtaposition. I always use the word
Yes.
juxtaposition. So,
It's a
but
fun
that's
word.
them, two of them falling, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
on that second page. Because at first we see on the first page, the names of these folks are Brick and Mallory.
Yeah.
So Brick's Brick's the dude that's like a brick, and Mallory's the one that's a psychic. But then
Mm-hmm.
they both have their respective like assistant or helper person,
Yes.
and
They're man in the chair. Yeah.
yeah, indeed. And so they're analyzing it / kind of catching you up, and then at the same time we see Zach and Rose falling. But then, to your point about the fact that there's a lot of this that speaks to the topic of the invasive nature of social media in general, or people
Yes.
filming everything, they are both going about a task with relatively different mindsets. Like one of them wants to follow it and be very deliberate. The other one wants to just say the AI will do it, but they're essentially both invading the space of the people that they're stalking.
Yeah, it kind of really hit hard for me, because like just last week I had an altercation at one of my stores where a kid who's like 21, 22, we do Pokemon at my stores. We're really big into Pokemon. And we had like this like Pokemon streamer kid. He uses like AI glasses, is recording Ray-Bans that are like becoming a thing. And he recorded he recorded his experience in the store and posted it on social media, and it got some views, a decent amount of views, and it was a fine video. But my employee behind the counter didn't know he was being filmed, and he's an employee of mine that's never on camera. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want to be on camera. It just that's his boundaries. That's his vibe. And I respect that. Someone has to respect that. And so that was the thing where like, the next week when I was in the store and the kid was in there again, I have to like collar him nicely and go, hey man, so like, I get it. You're a streamer. It's your thing, but you got to be careful. You got to respect people's boundaries. You got to ask, to like, if they want to be filmed. And he was very cool and respectful about it. And, it was, it ended in a handshake and, and a laugh, and, it all worked out. And, my employee felt a lot better about it, because now the guy knows, and, now like he feels respected, and, and it really all worked out. And so that's why this issue really hit home for me, because like, that was like something I just recently dealt with.
That's a neat real life parallel for sure. And ironically, Rose ends up only being able to really get out of this situation by taking her phone out. After we're talking about that,
yeah.
but that's also what they like follow.
But
That's
that's
what
real
the
life.
drones
Yeah.
follow.
Yeah. So it really works out. Yeah. I also really appreciate in this issue that two page spread where it's them, the monster hunter and the alien psychic gal, like interviewing everybody that has had experiences with the kids or interactions with everything going on in the town. And it was almost like a cool catch up payoff of like, hey, if you've been reading this story, you're going to understand that every panel is a reference to a previous scene. And it also really showcases the coolness of like how much story has been in this series for just 10 issues, because there's like 10, 11 panels on that 2-page spread of different references and callbacks to events in the series. And I was just like, wow, sick. Well done. It was really well done.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you had read that in the course of 10 months, as opposed to the course of 2 hours, how much of those 12 panels, because Ghost Machine fans, we're talking about this 2-page spread with these 12 square panels, how many of those do you think you would have recalled as vividly?
Gosh, maybe 7, 8 of them, realistically.
So that's still really, really, really good. So
yeah,
because they all
they're iconic
are from it.
They're iconic scenes. Yeah, they're pivotal scenes. Like, it's not like they're deep cuts. It's not like they're referencing one panel from a previous issue. They're all referencing, important scenes of the previous issues.
But it's like, a comic book readers like a payoff. We like the fact that we go get our book every Wednesday, once a month, and then we can get that. Like, we want to be that, we feel like that's there for us, Mr. Tomasi.
Yeah, a comic reader is investing their time and their money every Wednesday with a series. And it's a really nice thing when the creative team understands that and gives you something that only you as a reader who has been, contributing your time and money to a series would get.
Well said. Did you notice the last 2 panels, who the characters are that they run into, that direct them to going to the funeral home and the community center, respectively?
No, tell me. Sorry. I know it was just an hour ago I read it, but
it's very subtle, but it's at the gas station. It's the Beazle guy, but he's wearing his red shades and he's just talking to him in the gas station.
Yeah. And then the angel in the baseball cap. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I love their scheming. I think it's very fun. I'm really excited to see where that goes. I really like the is it a golem? What's the big giant creature they have?
The thing that eats them, or like that.
Yeah,
that, like, takes
the giant. Yeah, I really like that. I think it's cool and creepy and fun. I like that it's hiding in the bottom of the lake. I'm really into
that. I know. I want to know what happened to the adjudicator and if he's ever going to come back. And this was one of the first issues that they even mentioned. They hadn't mentioned him in a little while. This issue they mentioned. This is what it must have been like for Sydney, and they compare themselves to that.
Yep, which was very well done.
Yeah, for sure. Ultimately, in the issue, there's a pretty new thing that we learn about Rose, like a very new specific thing. Do you know what I'm talking about when she's touching both of the UFO monster hunter people?
That was another one of my favorite parts of the issue, because it was essentially her penance stare. And
ooh, good one.
Yeah, I mean, and anybody listening who's not familiar, that's one of Ghost Rider's powers, where he stares at somebody and all their fears, all their evilness, every mistake they've made, every cruel thing they've ever done is just looped in front of them, and they're stuck in it. And I thought it was really cool, Rose doing that, not just because the penance stare is just such a sick superpower, in comics, but also like, it was really cool to give the character an ability or action that is more than just like their true self and their powers from, like flames or blue flame or a sword or wing. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a very cool, like, hey, here's a power they have that is just beyond that. And I think that was even, to me, more powerful and even a little scary. It was fun.
And it made me feel like it was a hint of this is what a very highborn demon thing would be able to just do.
Yes.
Like by just making contact with a mortal for a moment unintentionally. You know, like they immediately like bawl their eyes out in fear.
Yeah, it shows you the potential of their power, like the true scope of their power. And I think down the road too, if they ever did a storyline where you can see what their future selves are, I think it could very well be a scary thing of like almost kind of like a Christmas Carol, Ghost of Future, type of past thing where like they can see what they can become if they don't stay on the route of, the adjusticator. Is that how you pronounce it?
I think is the adjudicator.
Adjudicator. Like he's the guy who's trying to get them to be on, I think, of the right path, just towing this good moral line, despite, both sides. I mean, it's like Preacher, right? If you've read the comic book Preacher from DC Vertigo, both heaven and hell are jerks. They both have their goals, they have their motivations, and both sides have, unfortunately, a sinister thing going on. And that's why I really like that character, because he's keeping them, I think, on the straight and narrow. But I think it could be like, if Rose's powers are of that scale, if she doesn't, stay neutral, if she doesn't stay like on a good moral compass, it is kind of scary how she could use those powers for evil.
And that's the thing. Whenever we've seen her do something aggressive, it seems inadvertent, like a reaction, and that's when she'll like light up and hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. So, what happens
that's children, when she'll, this comic book is very much nature versus nurture. They say that literally in the first issue, and it stays apparent in every single issue that, that is just human beings in a nutshell. No person is born bad. No person is born evil. No person is born racist. It's all what their environment gives them, unfortunately. And that's why, and it's also too, like when you're in that environment, what can you do to break away from what that environment bestows upon you? Like, that's why I really think the parents, the funeral home parents, just being terrible people, being criminals, being terrible parents. That's why it's so nice to see like him want to be better than that, him want to not be what is around him. And I think that's also a very inspiring part of this, is that you can break away from that nature versus nurture that's around you and still do the right thing. And maybe it's because he has other influences still uplifting him. Like I'm a big believer in found family, like the people you choose can be the people that, are your family. And, he's got, like Rose, yes, is a literal devil and demon, but because of who her parents are, she has an influence of good. There's that issue, maybe it's in issue 10 or maybe the prior issue where he's like delivering clothes.
The prior issue.
Like, he's trying to do good. And, I think it's all beyond just this heaven and hell type story. There's just so much, again, there's a lot of heart to this story. It's great.
There is. And there's a lot to be said for inherent goodness as well. And in the end of the issue, it seems that they are basically as close as we have seen them. They seem to really be vibing as friends. We have not gotten any more sense of that kind of teenage romance thing that we got a teensy bit of when there was that Dante Inferno play thing going on. One thing I wanted to ask you about, as a fellow JSA, Goyer, Johns, Khalees,
amen, brother,
fan, these bios in the back of these Ghost Machine comics. It's from that. You remember that?
Yeah, of course. It's DC Who's Who style stuff. The 80-page giant stuff. It's great. I mean, they were doing that in the first Ghost Machine one shot, right? That started all this. Like I eat that stuff up, brother. I love that era of DC. That is my era, like late 90s, early mid 2000s. That is my bread and butter. And so anything that gives me that nostalgia, and if it's done right and it's done accordingly, and it's not just nostalgia to be nostalgia, I'm all in. I love those bios. I love the character designs. Because like I love that they put in time and effort. It's not just reused artwork. It's an actual illustration meant for that bio card. It's great.
Yes, we need them to be trading cards.
Oh yeah, it'd be fun.
Desperately need them to be trading cards.
Better yet, I will one up you there. Unfortunately, not to be a one upper, but trading cards that come with an action figure.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, sure,
yeah,
I'll take
that's
it.
What I want. Yeah, that's what I want. That's what I want.
If we can go all the way to that, and we can just jump over just trading cards, I'll go there with you. That's fine.
Heck yeah.
If only a man named Todd. Anyways. So, Timmy, thank you so much for hanging out and going through the latest issue of Hornsby and Halo with us. One thing I did want to say about the nature versus nurture points that you made is that Mr. Tomasi and the artists as well, Ramon and Peter, they do a great job of alluding to those things very subtly.
Yes, it's not in your face. Yeah,
it's intelligent comics.
Yes.
You know? And you get a lot out of that intellectually. And as you pay attention to that over time, it's something you'll really be able to see how these two young people's personalities develop. It's just very cool.
I feel like every Ghost Machine book is just intellectually done. You know, like
absolutely.
It's every read, you know, has a page that it's quality stuff.
It is. So if we out here in the interwebs ether would like to find your quality stuff on the internet, the stuff you're writing, the stuff you're marketing, the stuff that you have retail stores, how do we find you? What's the best way to engage with you?
I am Comic Book Timmy personally on all platforms, whether it's Instagram, Blue Sky, or X, formerly known as Twitter. And then my store is just Arsenal Comics and Games on everything.
Great.
Book-wise right now, my big book that's out right now is with Dark Horse and Archie, Minor Threats versus Archie, which is a crossover Patton Oswalt, Jordan Bloom's Minor Threats series with Archie Comics. So I co-wrote it with them, and artwork's by Scott Kovlish. And it's just, it's a blast. Issue 1 and 2 are already at your local comic shop, and 3 is on the way in November.
So it's Archie and Minor Threats.
Yes,
the name
Archie versus Minor Threats.
Versus.
Yes. Yeah. Versus. Yes. And which also, funny enough, is kind of a nature versus nurture style book too. The book deals a lot with just Archie and why he is how he is, and he's kind of at this point in the series where old Archie Andrews is fed up of being a do-gooder. He is getting jealous of how the girls are reacting to bad boy Reggie Mantle. And Minor Threats' main character, Frankie Folis, aka supervillain Playtime, we see why she's the way she is with her childhood, and why she is, dealing with anger, frustrations, and why she doesn't like trusting people. And it's there's a role reversal in the series where Playtime becomes a citizen of Riverdale, and Archie Andrews becomes a supervillain, and he breaks bad. And it's fun to do something with Archie that after 85 years hasn't really been done before. He's never really broken bad as a supervillain to where it's an actual story, not just like a fun, like little short story, what if. Like it's a full on, like, this is why he becomes a supervillain. This is, his motivations. This is his inspiration and why. And it's been, I call the book, if I were to write only one Archie Comics story, one Archie Andrews story, this is my definitive Archie Andrews take on why I love the character and what he means to me, and just that why I love that he is a good person, and that it's okay if being a good person makes you boring. That's completely okay. But Archie can never be boring because he is Riverdale's prodigal son. He is Archie Andrews.
Wow, I'm going to race out to my local comic book shop and grab a copy of that.
Please.
All right. That's awesome. Way to go. Well done. That's exciting that you wrote that with Patton Oswalt. That's cool.
Yeah. Writing with Patton and Jordan has been a blast. They're two of my best bros last couple of years. I knew them from signing at the store, from Minor Threats, to them taking me on to do their marketing for the series, and then also just they've just become such great pals. And to be able to write a story with them and play with their characters in their universe with characters that I've been writing for the last couple of years has just been the thrill of a lifetime. I'm really, really thankful for them bringing me into their universe, and thankful to Dark Horse and thankful to Archie Comics for trusting me with their characters again.
We will make sure to check that out. Archie versus Minor Threats.
Minor Threats.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
The first 2 issues are out now. Yeah, man.
Right on. Okay. Well, Timmy, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It has been a pleasure. Hopefully we'll be able to have you back again sometime. This is fun.
Would love that. I absolutely would love that. And yeah, let me know what your next retailer to pick is, or if you need help finding another. What's funny is I hit up Kelly, was like, hey, you should be on the podcast. And she was like, oh, I was already on it. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes complete sense.
She was the pioneer. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's the Ghost Machine store for sure.
Oh, absolutely. That's why it was appropriate. It was appropriate for sure.
Very.
And if you would like to check out all of our other content, you can do that by going to www.ghostmachinefans.com, where you'll find all of our social stuff and our wiki, as well as the info for the Discord that's on the Reddit, and it's on the Instagram. And never forget to always check out the Ghost Machine Comics Fans Facebook group as well.
And thanks again for joining us tonight on the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast.
Arsenal Comics and Games Podcast.